능 시카 노코 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 코시탄탄 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 시카 노코 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 코시탄탄.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Giant Legal Mindset, today as I hype mog all of you from my Seoul apartment. And we're going to be having fun today on this stream talking about the Square Enix policy. I am definitely the long man today as I stand up in my apartment. I'll give you the breakdown today. But of course, it's Legal Mindset, where we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, currently in Seoul, South Korea, in my lovely, lovely apartment here in Gangnam. And it is good to be here with you guys. Now, I do want to issue a quick little apology. I have been a wee bit absent. That's because I went from really warm weather in Thailand to up here in Korea, and it is freezing. We have record low temperatures here, and when I got here, it was one of the coldest days, and it was the middle of the night when I got here, so I got absolutely sick the first night, after the first night I was here, and you can probably still hear it in my voice, a little bit congested, but I'm back. I'm here, and I wanted to give you at least a quick stream on this one. Now, I was going to head to a cafe today, the same one I was at last time. It's across from where I live, because it would be on the level, but the cafe was closed today, so I could not do that. So we're in my apartment. Now, I don't have my office chair yet. It hasn't been delivered. It gets delivered tomorrow morning. So I have to stand by the table. And, you know, luckily with my AI camera, it'll track me if I move, right? So it actually works out. It's not too horrible, but it's the up angle. So that's when I talk about hype mogging, AKA hype bullying, right? Because this is the view you'd get of, you know, one of those videos where somebody's role playing as the bully, saying, hey, shrimp, you have my lunch money? If you don't pony up, I'm going to put you in the trash can again. I can kneel, but I'm not kneeling. I never kneel, Coke Fairy. And good to see everybody here today. Shout out to all the members and all the members of BLM. Appreciate you all here today. Let's see. I see. Obviously, we have our mods as well. We got we got Silverblood in the chat. What else we got here? Joining today, King Lugia. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Tuzret. Let's see. We got Sheg. We got Kai Guy Nikki, what's going on? And good to see Don Baca, one of the mods in the house. Good to see you, good to see you. Smash the like button as you come in, guys. It's been a couple days, so I know the algorithm's going to punish me. I've been a very, very naughty mindset. Very naughty mindset. Because I've been just taking a rest, taking it easy the last couple days. Also spent a day down in Busan talking with some friends of Jeff and people that are helping him kind of get his affairs in order. So that was another kind of delay here. But anyways, it's good to be back. It's good to be talking about this as well. My next stream will be on Somali, so we're not really talking Somali today, but that'll be my next one. This one was really about the Square Enix policy because a lot of people have brought this up to me. A lot of people have wanted me to cover this and whether or not it's legal to the extent it is legal. So we're going to talk about that. And practically, I think I know better than, and I, while I'm not a Japanese lawyer, having covered a lot of Japanese corporations, particularly in the VTuber sphere and how they practically operate, I think Square Enix is going to function very similar in this fashion to a Japanese corporation, to a Nijisanji, a HoloLive, etc., in the way that they would use lawsuits, right? So we're going to talk about that today and that policy. Also, I'll just make a quick note. I think at the end, I have a little tiny piece on Tencent, but it's just more of an update on their potential lawsuit, which, you know, if they end up going through with some sort of lawsuit, obviously I'll try to cover that as TikTok may be shortly banned here within the United States. King Lugia said, time sure flies fast, doesn't it? I know. It's really crazy how fast time flies, but we're having fun, and that's the point. And thank you for that one gift membership, King Lugia. Very, very, very based of you. Thank you. Yes. So Mechanics Golden Gear, welcome as a member for 10 months. Awesome. Good to see it. And shout out to the mods once again, Don Baca, Danielle. I don't know if PG Professional Gentleman's here today, but a big shout out to those guys. Those guys are hard workers. And JP Ravenfire. Thank you guys for all being here to help out. Appreciate all of you. Thank you guys. All right, Dragon's Treasure. This is what's going on in here. I'm hype mogging. See, even you are kind of short, Dragon's Treasure. I mean, I know you're kind of built, and I would put my money on you in an actual fight, but I'm taller, and that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters. I'm here for the scuff with the golden 10. Sorry I'm late. Here's my lunch money. That's right. And if you don't continue to shower me with that golden payout, me and my buddy Dragon's Treasure, we're going to dump you in a vat of bad tea. Not good tea, bad tea. Bad tea. In fact, if you're really bad, it might even be decaf coffee. That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Don says, I'm heading to the UK for a couple months next week to help an expat mate. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's crazy with expats when you have affairs abroad. It's a lot of legal work to deal with that sort of stuff. And obviously, I can help out a lot with that if you're in Asia, right? Particularly if you're in Thailand, a little bit in Korea and Japan. That's what I really focus on, is helping people out over here, particularly people who are living here long term, unlike annoying tourists such as Johnny Somali. And Tigrat, thank you for the 20 legal mindset memberships. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very, very based of you. Let's see. Let's drop a good clip here.
Not as in, I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
Thank you, Tankrat. Appreciate that. Always good to see you around the chat. Appreciate you, brother. All right. So let's talk about Square Enix. What's going on with Square Enix? So here's where I came into this, and where I saw all the usual suspects blaming the fans, and that's how most of these things start with the gaming companies nowadays. Is they start with the gaming companies blaming the fans. So of course it's the fans' fault. It's always been the fans' fault, right? It is your fault for being toxic. It is your fault for holding them to any sort of quality standard. It's your fault for caring who the voice actors are. It's your fault for caring about the content, for caring about the plot, the backstory, making things are consistent. That's all your fault. It's your fault for holding them to any sort of standard. And that's been kind of the trend. And so I saw this percolating in an article, which I'm going to pull up here by PC Gamer. But before I do that, I got to hit Eric H., who dropped a big 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much for that, Eric H. Yes. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Unlike Artemis, who literally is asking a question about Pecco Mama milk broth ramen, the only answer to that is this.
Degenerates. You guys degenerates.
Thank you. Please, degenerates, stay in the corner where I put you. All right, so here is the article from PC Gamer, and this is an article, once again, as with most of these things, they're just copy-pasted by, all of the gaming, quote-unquote, journals nowadays. They just copy-paste the same sort of articles, the same sort of information. But they posted here, Square Enix launches new anti-harassment policy to protect its employees and partners from abusive fans. So once again, in the header, in the title, calling fans abusive, taking it out on fans, with little to no proof, little to no backup, and little to no support for this statement that fans are being abusive, or the things that they're complaining about specifically are invalid complaints, or things that aren't items that the company should consider, right? So, and mind you, Square Enix, obviously, you guys know Square Enix. If you're gamers, if you know anything about games, they obviously are behind Final Fantasy, as well as many other large properties. They are a Japanese company, but they are increasingly relying on Western consultants, which is very, very concerning. Now, I do think that most of this comes out of root in Japanese law, and we're going to get into it. However, you can see with the influence in the company that they are having more Western influence going forward. And I actually posted, I don't know if you guys caught this, but this is in the anime realm, which is tangentially related to to gaming, to Japanese gaming. But I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this year, actually in the anime market, the overseas market for only the second time in all of history, the overseas market in Japan passed the domestic Japanese market. So in anime, the market is larger abroad than in Japan. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the big reasons for that is, and no, this is only the second time this has happened. So someone in the chat said that's not new. No, this is new in terms of the revenue. Now, I think these things can be kind of dangerous because it lends people to listening to folks they shouldn't listen to, i.e. Western gaming companies and Western gaming consultants, which have only run those companies into the ground, into being not financially successful. And I will say this factor of the domestic market in Japan not doing well is largely due to COVID and a weak yen. So a depressed domestic spending due to COVID and concerns over COVID. And once again, guys have to understand, Japan held on to COVID about a year longer than anywhere else. Everywhere else was pretty much done with it. And other than like China, Japan was out there. It's like one of the holdouts with restrictions and also with the mentality of being worried about that and concerned about that, etc. So they were holding out a little bit longer, depressed their economy a little bit longer, and the yen has been absolutely in the dumpster for a while. It's still quite bad. By the way, the won is not much better here in Korea. And now it's fine for me, but I'm talking about for those people that live domestically that spend and earn in won, right? Not a good time. Those that earn in yen, not a good time. But somebody in the chat asked for apartment tour. Yeah, this is my apartment. I'm not going to give a tour because I don't want to like dox myself, because I think if I gave certain details of my apartment, this apartment is really weird and specific, and it has some specific things. So if the autists out there started searching, they could probably figure it out, right? Because internet autism is real. But however, it is my new apartment. So it is my apartment in Gangnam. Quite nice, quite nice. Halogen says, I'm 191 centimeters. You're the only person I know who can height mog me. Well, there always has to be one. But welcome in the tall persons club. Much respect to my fellow tall people. Japanese Lord, Demon Lord of Bar Lucifer said, I yearn for the days of badass devs like John Romero and John Carmack. Yeah. They don't make them like that anymore. They don't make them like that anymore. I'm here for the scuff says, I'm broke, please no. Scuff. You can handle it. I know. You can scuff it. Yeah, the Somali simps are going to try to do stuff. And by the way, another thing too, real quick, guys, there are some fake profiles in the comments that can show up from time to time. This has happened on my channel for like 2 years. It's nothing new. If you see a profile that has legal mindset, you need to look at the actual URL, because a lot of times in like the actual channel, number one, it won't have the verified check mark. My channel is now verified on YouTube, so it has a little check mark. And you can click on the channel and see about all the videos on the information, and it should be like legal mindset with all of my videos, all of my lives, all of my members exclusive stuff. So be very, very careful. Sometimes these bots, they try to create fake accounts by essentially just taking my photo, clipping it, and putting it in there. But it's a slightly different username. So it'll be like legal-mindset or legal_mindset or the legal mindset or a legal mindset. Just be very, very careful about that. All right, cool. So let's continue with this article here. So let's get into what the Western media thinks this is, and then we'll get into what it actually is. So the Western media is very, very convinced about this, that this is due to naughty behavior on the part of the fans. Here we go. So they're saying here, the company says it will not tolerate harassment and will take action if necessary when people get out of line. So Square Enix announced a new group customer harassment policy aimed at protecting its employees. And let me zoom in a little bit because I know it's probably a little bit hard to read here. And partners from harmful behavior and actions taken by followers and fans. Well, first of all, I would say this. If someone is taking a criminal action, they're not really a follower or a fan, they're a criminal. And, you don't need a policy. You don't need a policy You do not need a policy to enforce existing laws. Policies don't change the law. What policies can do is they can telegram or kind of they can present your position as a company, because companies don't have to take action on everything they could possibly sue for. Because companies, and I know this working in-house, and I worked in one of the industries in which we had people shit-talking our company on the regular, which is why I laugh at the little Somali shrimps, the little anchovies, or the nuisance streamer dorks when they try to rage into the internet at me. We had people that would lose our company tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and even sometimes we did the math and we said it's not worth suing them. It's not worth legally pursuing these people. It's only when it gets in the upper six figures, when it heads towards $1 million, okay, now it's worth suing them, now it's worth taking legal action, now it's worth coming after these people. Companies do not have infinite money to sue everybody. That's impossible, and they will never do that. Anybody who's saying that companies are going to start suing every single person who makes a negative comment are crazy. However, would they go after some people to make an example? Perhaps. And further, would they do something like terminate your access to these Square Enix properties, particularly the ones that are available online or that they're available through an online library? Yes. They absolutely would do that. And we have pretty fair record of other companies doing this as well, terminating people's accounts, blocking them out, banning them, right? That's something that there's a record for. So I would think the non-legal enforcement, I think, may be a lot more active than the legal side. However, it is possible that they do try to set an example of certain people in order to present a quote-unquote message. All right, so to continue with this, Square Enix believes that feedback, comments, and requests received from customers are essential to the advancement of our group's products and services, the policy states. At the same time, there are instances where certain customers take actions directly or through our support centers or are involved in our group executives, employees, or partners who are involved in the creation or distribution of our products that constitute harassment. This is kind of funny. So to me, what's concerning here is that they're talking about people complaining to customer service. Now, I get it. Some people can be really unreasonable with customer service. And if you make a death threat or a physical threat, yeah, you should actually be pursued under whatever relevant laws of whatever country you're there. If you say, I'm going to delete you, right? And you make that threat to a poor call center employee who's just doing their job and probably doesn't have gets paid nothing, right? And may even be in the Philippines or in India or in Bangladesh, right? And you're threatening them. Well, yeah, they can take action on that, right? If it's a concrete, direct death threat, yes, of course. That's always been the law, right? That doesn't change whether or not you have a policy. However, what it telegrams to me, what it says is, we're going to not tolerate this a lot more, and we're probably going to end up terminating people's accounts when they complain about certain things. So it's I think it's a signal in that sense. By the way, in terms of hype mogging, have you ever been hype mogged? 18% said yes, 55% say no, and 27% say stop bullying me. Well, guess what? I'm never going to stop, you short stacks. You're a bunch of midgets. Get back on the Oompa Loompa farm. Appreciate everybody who voted on the poll. Also, Crimson Splat with 5 illegal mindset memberships. Thank you so much, Crimson Splat. Yes. Okay, so here we go. So here we go. They mentioned some lawsuits that they actually won or that other companies won related to harassment. So they mention over here, and let me hide that one. Also, wait, hold on. Warranty Void dropped 20 legal mindset memberships. Holy, we gotta get a good one in there for that. Hold on.
Long.
Got to get some long man for that. That was a good one. Thank you, Warranty Void. King Lucha said, hype mog me more, please. LM sniff. You guys simping too hard. Thanks for the 6 Malaysian ringgit, though. All right. So Destiny 2, there was a award there in a lawsuit against a quote-unquote racist shit stain. I wonder where they're getting that quote from. Racist shit stain. That very official journalism there, PC Gamer. Very technical language. Who harassed and threatened a community manager in a 2024 issued permanent bans against players who aimed at toxic abuse at one of its developers during live stream. Colossal Order CEO Marina Halakainen also warned against growing toxicity. I hate the fucking word toxic. It's so ambiguous. It's such ambiguous bullshit. And you know, it's warped often to mean something that isn't legally constituting, anything criminal. So the toxicity is not illegal. Toxicity might be any negativity. People can label any negativity at all as toxicity, but actually, to be honest, that forms what can be known as toxic positivity, right? When you don't allow any negative opinion or any dissent or any pushback, that actually forms an environment of toxic positivity, which is what doomed a project like Concord, where you weren't allowed to say anything bad about it, right? Dissent was not permitted, and therefore the project was doomed because people couldn't freely speak their mind when things worked like shit or looked like shit. And ambiguity. Somebody in the chat said ambiguity can be good or bad. It's true. But I think in this case, specifically using that word, I think is bad. I'm not a big fan of the use of that word in that case. You could be more specific. You could say, for example, if they could say, she warned against growing harassment. Well, that's more specific. That's more of a specific action. Toxicity is vague, and it's more of a vibe, right? And I'm not about punishing vibes here, right? We're not engaging in that. There's no objective standard with that. Harassment, we can come up with a legal definition, and we can even come up with a definition that the company deems harassment, which may not reach the level of legal punishment, but maybe they would terminate your account over that. At least they could come up with an objective standard for that. Toxicity is just whatever the community managers feel like. And we well know that the community managers are very capricious and very arbitrary. According to a Reddit thread, Square Enix faced a significant level of abuse in the past. Final Fantasy writer Katsuhige Nojima said he felt afraid after insults and violent words from a supposed fan. Well, if he actually had fear, well, then that might be actionable, maybe a restraining order, etc., if there was actual fear and actual death threat. Sina Breyer said she faced transphobic abuse. Okay, well, what does that mean exactly? Misgendering. I'm sorry, and I know this is going to offend some people. That's not a criminal. That's not criminal, right? So, misgendering is not criminal in most jurisdictions. I mean, maybe there's some that it is, in which case that I'm not aware of. But in most jurisdictions, particularly in the United States, right? In the United States and Asia, misgendering someone is not going to land you in jail, right? So if I'm in Korea or Japan or Thailand or Philippines or Vietnam or Malaysia or Singapore, wherever, and I misgender someone, I'm not going to have the cuffs slapped on me and I'm not going to be thrown in jail. It's not a crime. Now, people might be offended by it, but it's certainly not a crime. Britain, now, somebody brought up Britain. Yeah, maybe California, maybe Britain, but those are very, very specific places. Yeah, people mention Canada. Yeah, Canada, right? But once again, we're talking about real countries, not the 51st state of Canada. I mean, let's be real. Let's be real. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put a little poll in the chat. Should the U.S. admit Canada as the 51st state? Yes, no, and only if they surrender the maple syrup. Okay. There we go. Okay, cool. Oh, wait. There we go. Let's remove the. There we go. Nice poll for you guys in the chat. All right. Who in the chat just made the joke, be careful with hot takes in California? Whoever said that, Whoever said that.
No. Wait. Wait.
Oh, no. All right. I love you guys. Ouch. That's an oof. All right. So, death and rape threats, which are illegal, doxing, which is illegal some places like California, but it's not illegal others. Also, public information can be put out there. And then threats against their family, that's also illegal. So some of this clearly illegal. Death and rape threats, yeah, that's illegal. Threats against family, probably illegal. For portrayal of Wook Lamont. In the gaming industry, 91% of respondents said player harassment of game developers is a problem. I doubt this severely, particularly among women and members. I doubt that they answered this in a straightforward way. It probably was a more vague question, and that it wasn't put like that specifically. I doubt 91% of gamers said that. Really doubt that. Or the group that they asked was a very sensitive group. All right, so that was from PC Gamer. Now, of course, that is the PC Gamer is the kind of standard games journo opinion, and I only do that because to show you guys where I heard of this and how I got into this topic, because obviously people share around the games journo stuff. But as always, and as I recommend for you guys, be your own judge. Go to the original source and look at what they're actually talking about. So we're going to go to the Square Enix policy. Now we are going to read it translated into English. Now understand, it is possible, particularly when you're talking about crimes, that the translation of the crimes cannot be translated perfectly. And I've dealt this with, for example, the Johnny Somali case. There are words that just don't exist in English, right? So, for example, we talk about with Johnny Somali first-person reports versus third-person reports, which is Gobal and Gosol, right? And those words don't one-for-one translate, but changing them over to first party and third party is close enough. It's a good enough translation that I will use it. So just understand that, yes, when you translate, there's not always a one-for-one. So maybe this could be something that is being a little bit lost in the sauce. But I also think that, reading it through, it made sense to me. And as somebody who's been looking at this in concert with VTubing issues, particularly Niji Sanji and their threats of lawsuits, I think this makes complete sense, at least to me. Now, may not be enforceable, but I get what they're trying to do. Now, so let's turn over to what the actual documents are. But before we do that, Muzzy Skeleton for 10 says, as a player, some toxic Final Fantasy XIV community members can be really unhinged and unnecessarily toxic. It's always the outliers who drag the whole down. Anyway, always hype mog, lawless. What's up, brother? Look, I get it. And I've talked to people, look, harassment is real. There are people that are legitimately harassed. There are people that legitimately are attacked. I believe in investigation of all real crime, right? In all situations. I was speaking with a Korean girl here the other day, and she was at dinner, and we were eating with a large group, and she was talking about a stalking and harassment situation she was at with a former coworker, and it was very serious, right? There are real serious harassment issues that are very serious and should be dealt with severely and strictly, and there are situations where they're not dealt with strictly enough, right? But it needs to be a case-by-case analysis, and the police need to take them seriously and say, hey, we're going to investigate this and decide whether this is a real thing, whether this is fake, whether this is severe, whether this is minor, and do a real due diligence on these issues. And the same goes for online harassment, right? Look at it and take a serious look at whether it is criminal or edging towards criminal harassment, or whether it is just somebody calling somebody a name, right? Which, if someone calls you a name, in my opinion, you should just be able to block them or mute them or whatever else and move about your day, right? That's what I would do. If somebody else is harassing or, just making ad hominem attacks, calling you whatever, just block them, mute them, move about your day. Don't waste too much time on them. You don't need to go out of your way to sue those people every time someone hurts your feelings. Project Liberdad says, are they suing because they can't make money from their DI slot games? Well, understand, they wouldn't make much money suing anybody except for some of the biggest antis out there. And we're going to talk about that. So there are some people that they could make money on, and they might target because they would actually make some money. Talk about that. Let's pull up the actual policy, though. You know, enough teasing here. Let's get into the let's do it raw, guys. How I like it. All right, here's the group harassment policy. Don't need audio for this. It's just a policy. All right, so this is officially from Square Enix. Now, once again, this is their translated version, and they make a comment on the bottom, and this is actually very important. And almost nobody that has been covering this has read this sentence. But, you know, reading is kind of fundamental. So we're going to try to elevate our IQ on the legal mindset above the IQ of a... I mean, I know for some people, I know some of you out there in chat are still living the meme, right? You're still living the...
Look, here's the thing.
Fine. Listen,
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
So let me explain it to those that it might be lacking a few brain cells here. This is something that was cooked up with Japanese law in mind. This is not something that was cooked up with American law in mind. And the problem is a lot of Westerners and a lot of Western commenters are looking at this not knowing a good goddamn about Japanese law. Now, I'm not a Japanese lawyer. However, if you guys have been following this channel, I've spent an inordinate amount of time reading Japanese law in English as it's translated to English. That does not mean that I am a lawyer. However, I'm familiar with it. And I talk to Japanese lawyers. I also talk to Korean lawyers. I talk to Thai lawyers, right? So while I am not a lawyer and I'm not presenting myself as such, I have a certain familiarity with it that I think other people are just totally ignorant of. And you, as the chat, are probably, if you've been following my VTuber coverage particularly, you probably are familiar with some Japanese law too, and the ways in which Japanese law is different. And some of these policies, if you know Japanese law, they just jump out to you as, oh yeah, this is obvious under Japanese law. This is a clear Japanese law thing. It's not an American law thing. So this is a translation based on Japanese law. The policy is applicable globally in accordance with local laws and regulations. So right here, oh, somebody asked where am I? I'm a Florida lawyer, a Florida man, an American lawyer, right? But of course, as a lawyer, I can also practice federal law, including immigration law and other federal areas of law. So here, the one thing that people are missing is this. It's applicable globally in accordance with local laws and regulations. The policy, yeah, I do slightly misspeak sometimes. It happens. The policy cannot create law. It cannot go beyond what the law is. So obviously, if you can't sue somebody for criminal defamation in America because we don't have criminal defamation, then that's not a thing. But if you can sue for criminal defamation, like in most of Asia, Korea, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, criminal defamation is the thing, they would consider that as an option. So obviously they're putting in the caveat that they're not going to be able to do any of this if it breaks local regulations. And certainly if, for example, revoking your rights to the games would trigger some regulatory body, whether that's the EU or California or Texas or whatever else, would cause their consumer bureau to say, hey, you're scamming customers, they're not going to do that, right? So if revoking all of your game passes for you saying something that is protected speech would violate a rule of a regulatory body, they're probably not going to do that. And I guarantee you that they do have lawyers, at least some lawyers, that are looking at the regulations in a global sense, not just a Japanese sense. Now, maybe not carefully, maybe not as carefully as Japanese law, but I'm sure they do have somebody. Wolfsbane says, reading the law explains the law until it doesn't. Yeah, and sometimes, here's the other thing, Wolfsbane, sometimes the way the law reads and the way the law is applied are different. And I've always been interested on this channel on how the law is applied, not how it reads, not how you do a little foo-foo courtroom, oh, this is how it theoretically would work, oh, you fucking nerd. All right, hold on, I'll play the gotta play the Nick clip on that one. Hold on, here you go.
And they're still fucking nerds.
You know, oh, that's how it works in the Supreme Court. Oh. No, I'm about, this is how it works with dollars and cents, this is how it works practically. A law that is routinely ignored, that is never enforced, effectively isn't a law, right? So for example, if tobacco is banned in your country, but everybody can buy cigarettes, well, then cigarettes are effectively legal, whether or not the law bans tobacco or not. So that's my practical view of the law, right? Which perhaps differentiates from other people that look at a theoretical approach. Yeah. So let's see. Dragon Church says, speaking of games, started creating my own. You can support it and Mindset by going to look in the description using the code Mindset for discounts on your tea, coffee, and soaps. Anyways, got to go. Thanks, Dragon's Treasure. I appreciate that. Good stuff. Check out Dragon's Treasure tea, coffee, and soap. And thank you guys for also supporting me on Ko-Fi. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm going to be pimping out my setup there. So I do appreciate that. It helps me set up my studio as I wait for my IKEA chair to arrive so I don't have to stand every single stream. Right, because this gets annoying. You know, I'm not going to take a knee here, you know. There you go. But anyways, all right, let's continue with this policy. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this policy and what has people up in arms. So what people tend to be pretty pissed about here are what they say they're going to take action on. And to be clear, they say right here, and this is what's really pissing them off, where actions are egregious or with malicious intent, Square Enix reserves its right to protect employees and partners and take legal action or criminal proceedings. So that means civil or criminal proceedings upon consulting with the police or lawyers. Actions in which Square Enix considers customer harassment or to extend socially acceptable behavior or is harmful include but are not limited to the following. So we're going to go through the examples, right? And some of these things are clearly already illegal. They're clearly things that are just illegal straight up, right? So, for example, violence is illegal. It's never okay. You can't make violence legal or illegal through a policy. It's illegal. Some of them, however, are things that I can see them starting to ban people from the games for where they didn't do it in the past. And they do say, real quick here, they do say that they've determined that should Square Enix determine that an individual has engaged in an action against one of our employees or partners that exceeds socially acceptable behavior or is harmful, we reserve the right to cease providing support services or refrain from providing our group's products and services. I think this is the most likely penalty. And it's going to be really hard for people to sue Square Enix and to win on that. The only thing you could effectively do to fight that would be to boycott Square Enix and not buy their products, which perhaps people will do over this, perhaps not. Maybe this is a big enough wave, maybe not. I doubt it, though. I think this policy isn't too far astray from the direction they've been on recently, so I don't know if people will strongly boycott them just over this. But it's something that could lead to significant folks getting bumped off of games. Now, some people say, well, shouldn't a court determine that? Well, if it's access to the game and the license, that is within their right under the license to determine whether or not you can continue to access that game or whether you violated their license for use of that game. Now, if it's criminal, that's not up to Square Enix. That's going to be up to the court, right, to decide whether or not they committed a crime or whether or not they're liable. Real quick, I got a couple here. Nice gifted a membership. Thank you so much. Became a member. So welcome, Nice. Appreciate you. Species 10 gifted 10 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Yes. Linux Guy for 10 says, I agree with you 100%. Always better to enforce existing before making new law and policy. Yeah, and we have enough, at this point in history, we have enough laws on the books that we don't need any new laws. If we just enforce our existing laws and we really come after people, we'll be good. We don't need that much extra. Now, there are certain countries that are, outside the West, whatever, that might need a couple extra laws or a couple things to regulate certain areas. Niji-sanji. But they're kind of getting on that. They're kind of waking up to that. If they just enforce existing law, I think we'll actually be able to get rid of bad actors. I don't think we need a lot of bureaucracy, and I don't think we need a lot of regulation. That's my personal opinion. And that's from somebody who works in-house. A lot of the regulation and the stuff that we deal with just slows us down. It doesn't actually make the company better or make them perform more ethically necessarily. Japanese demon lord Abari Lucifer says, do you think with all this equity stuff in law schools that there are going to be an entire generation of actual idiot lawyers? There already are. And it's not necessarily, I'm actually going to be, this is crazy. People think I'm extreme. It's actually not just because of DEI. It's actually in a broader sense because the standards for law schools are falling. So law schools are like a short person, right? They're down here, right? They're all the way down here. But the standards for law school should be high. Just like your doctor. You wouldn't want your doctor to be an idiot or not be competent. You want your lawyers to be competent as well. But because law schools are extremely profitable and because people have this idea that they're going to become a lawyer and become a millionaire, they exploited that. And they also exploited the image of a lawyer, the power, the mystique of lawyers. And they really exploited almost an entire generation of people into massive, massive student debt, which they will never repay in their life. It will be paid after 20, 25 years when it just ages off. It's really a bad thing. And thank you for bringing that up. I try to encourage people, if you're going to think about becoming a lawyer, you need to think very carefully about what you're going to do. And be very careful about making that decision. It's often better to do something legal adjacent or something supporting the legal industry. That actually might be even better. Yeah, Don Baca, 40% of lawyers are idiots. Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm not one of them. Andrew's a millionaire? Mayoshi. No, I'm not. I'm not a millionaire. All right. Well, I am. I am a millionaire in Korean won. I'm a millionaire in Korean won, right? Maybe a won or Thai baht, but not in USD. All right, over here. Let's go. Let's talk about what so these are all the actions that they say are no actions. Okay, so these are the bad actions. These are the naughty boy actions. You can't do these. Okay, so let's look at what is bad here. Acts of violence and violent behavior. Okay. This has always been illegal. There's nothing that's ever not been illegal about this in every single country around the world, inclusive of Japan, the United States, everywhere else. So you didn't need a policy to tell us you can't commit acts of violence. Next, abusive language, intimidation, coercion, duress, excessive pursuit, reprimand. All of these are pretty expressly illegal. Abusive language depends on how extreme the language is. It could be. So looking at it case by case, is it possible that's criminal? Maybe. So let's say this is probably more likely to get you the ban versus if you're trying to, let's say, put somebody under duress or threaten their family or coerce them, that might get you some criminal charges. Defamation, slander, denial of personality, personal attack. And here's the part everyone gets. Email, contact and contact form, comment, or post on the internet. So I think, and excuse me here while I get a tissue, guys. Still a little caught up here from the cold, going from a warm Thailand to cold Seoul. But the issue is that posts on the internet could now get you essentially removed from their service. I don't think they're going to be suing people over posts. Now, if you're a giant content creator, if you're like an Asmongold, and you said something egregious, I think it's possible that Asmongold, for example, if he went hard on Square Enix and he said something that was actually defamatory, so he said something like, this actress is a criminal, or this actress is a thief, or this actress has an STD. That's a per se defamation. that would be something they might go after him if he posted a video or made a video about that. Because he's large enough and there'd be a large enough payout to go after a person like an Asmongold level, right? It's not going to be random Anon on 4chan number 62, right? It's going to be the very large people if they decide to sue them over that. And at that point, it's gone into the realm of defamation. Now, understand that defamation is criminal in Asia. It's not criminal in America. So there's no way they're going to bring criminal charges against you in America or Britain or France, but they might bring civil charges, right? They might bring civil charges. Or sorry, not civil charges, civil claim. I misspoke. They might bring a civil claim for damages, monetary damages. But you're not going to see jail time in the United States for defamation. They can't do that. They could try to do that in Japan, and they have done that in Japan. If you look at some people that have badmouthed companies in Japan, it is possible to see jail time. It's not likely, it's just possible. There was a guy freaking out. I saw a guy on Twitter today freaking out about Korea putting him in jail over defamation. It's his first offense. He's never done anything else. And he may have made the comments while he's outside the country. And I said, bro, chill the fuck out. You're not going to get, excuse my language, but you're not going to get, smash a like button though, you know, for the spiciness. I said, in Korea, you're not going to get, from all my discussions, you're not going to get maximum jail time pretty much ever, number one. And number two, on your first offense, it's highly unlikely they throw you in jail, right? Now, that's why you go for multiple, like in the Johnny Salami case, where you go for multiple charges and then you end up with jail time. They, especially if you apologize in Japan or Korea, they're not likely to throw you in the brig right away. Japanese Demon Lord Bar Lucifer said, do you ever think college will go back to being a place for actual intelligent people instead of everyday idiots? I don't know. I think college has to be reformed. Our idea of college is broken. It no longer prepares people for the modern economy. I think there's a small segment of the population that maybe college could be right for if it's reformed, but I think it's not preparing people adequately for the workplace. And we see that with Gen Z, particularly with like younger millennial and Gen Z firing rates. If you look at the firing rates, they're pretty high. And that's because college is not preparing them. It's just not doing a good enough job. And it has one job. College has one job, to get you a job, right? That's what it's supposed to do, right? Not just party or whatever else is supposed to be that. So we'll see. But good question. I like that. Big Buddhist for 10 says, Square going after streamers saying the truth. We must protect Asmon, Moisty, and Rev at all costs. And look, if they went after Asmon or Moist or Rev or any of them, they would get such blowback for trying that. It would be epic. They would be destroyed in the public arena, especially because they can't silence people anymore because of certain platforms which have said they're pretty committed to free speech. You're not going to get them. I mean, you've got X, you've got Rumble, you've got other platforms where you're not going to silence people. So I think the PR blowback, even Facebook. I mean, you even saw Zuck. Zuck kind of has now done a 360, and he said, hey, we're gonna be pro free speech now. We're so sorry, mi scusi, because they're looking at the clock and they're like, we have 7 days to get our shit together, right? Before we're probably seriously investigated. So I think that there's going to be enough platforms, at least for the time being, where if they tried to go after those folks, the pushback would be massive and the PR hit would be massive. And actual gamers would boycott them, I think, at that point, if they tried to shut down streamers in that sense. Wolf's Pain said, for no 2010s COD lobbies, I missed those days. No, that's not coming back. The Halo 2 lobbies, yeah, it's not coming back. Hypnotic and Rapture. The laughable irony in all these policies, the urine list and left-leaning cultists breaking the laws and policies through unjust acts while spreading this misinformation to own us chuds like Alyssa. Yeah, and Alyssa's suit against Smash JT is kind of one of those where she's trying to push back against us out of an ideological basis. Now, you can have a very valid basis for harassment that's aside from ideology. If somebody is legitimately threatening to delete you, threatening to hurt your family, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this has happened to me, and I have this actively happen where people send me threats, people send my family threats, people try to do bad things, right? They try to send emails to people or my business partners and stuff like that to try to scare them. These are all things which are essentially illegal, and they try to hide under the anonymity of the internet, because they're cowards, instead of actually, calling, putting their name, putting their face out there, and being subject to criminal and civil penalties. They hide and they try to do these things. And, to a certain extent, I would say toughen up and get used to it. But on another level, there is a point at which you do need to go to the police, and you do need to, get these things investigated and seriously think about suing the worst of the worst, the far outliers, which do exist, right? There are crazy people. They always exist, right? But they're an extreme minority, and we shouldn't be setting policies for what is an extreme minority of people, which our existing laws already take care of. But let's continue. Okay. Oh, sorry. Don't even know about your stock information. Get out of here. Okay. Persistent inquiries or repeated visits. Well, if it constitutes stalking, sure, right? Because this could be stalking, right? Also, trespassing by visiting an office and related facility without permission. Look, they're probably not going to trespass you the first time. I mean, no company would do it the first time, because the first time you might have a very legitimate reason for being there. But if you show up and you're being a creep, or you're being weird, or you're making threats at the office, yeah, they're going to do that. And honestly, this does happen in Japan and other places sometimes, where there will be like some really angry otaku. If you guys know the series, you may have heard of the little series Neon Genesis Evangelion. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's a little anime series. And, I don't know if you guys know this, but the creator got multiple death threats, which he actually screenshot, and he put those in End of Ava. So if you watch End of Ava, there's a clip. There's a little still. And if you pause it, there's all of the death threats that he received from angry fans. It's crazy. Yeah, Kano. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And that's legitimate. Like, when people are threatening to do that, you do need to go to the police. Unlawful restraint via telephone calls or online inquiries. This could also be harassment. So if it raises to the level of harassment, I would agree. Pursue it. Discriminatory speech or conduct regarding race, ethnicity, religion, family origin, occupation. This is very interesting. So what is interesting to me, and I don't know if you guys know this, but some types of those discrimination are not necessarily illegal in all countries. Like, there are countries in which you can discriminate based on race, nationality, and origin. You can say, okay, we don't accept foreigners. In fact, I think I've shown you guys photos here in Asia in various countries. It's not just one country, it's many countries, which say no foreigners allowed. In fact, I tell you guys, oftentimes I will go places and be bounced out of the place or won't be allowed in because I am a foreigner. It's not because I'm white or American or anything. It's you're a foreigner, or you're not the type of foreigner they want in there. It exists. It happens. You can't get salty about it because it's not illegal, and they're allowed to do it. It's their property, and they're allowed to do it. And frankly, I don't get mad about it. I just go to the next place and spend my money there. It's just a matter of they don't get my money, right? I have money to give them. They should want my money. If they don't want my money, okay, that's fine. I'll take my dirty gaijin bucks elsewhere, right? So this is something that, in the U.S., in Britain, in France, they might have more possibility to go after folks. But in, other countries, Japan, East Asia, Southeast Asia, they might have more trouble. Yeah, you're not the kind of foreigner with a Twitch streamer kit. No. I don't walk around with the selfie stick. I do have my, I think I've got my DJI right here. I'm not going to try to dig for it, but I don't walk around with that typically. And if I'm using my DJI Pocket, I typically use that like in a quiet place or where it's not bothering anybody, or I'm sitting down. Okay, infringement on privacy by taking pictures and making video recordings without consent. Now, this is one that I think they could probably enforce more. So if they do have a stalker or somebody else who's taking unauthorized pictures, particularly in Japan where this is more regulated and there's more privacy rights, it's very possible. Sexual harassment, stalking, and repeated stalking behavior, obviously these are all crimes. So sure, go ahead. All right, undue demand. unreasonable changes and requests for a product or requests for monetary compensation. And this is where I do agree with everybody else. What is unreasonable? So are they going to ban you from playing Final Fantasy 14 for making a single complaint, or by saying, hey, I want you to refund me because I don't like this game, or this game is bad, or the patch doesn't work, or it crashes my PC? And then they're going to say, okay, we're banning you from all this company's products now. Like, what is reasonable and what is unreasonable? Who determines that? That is a little bit scary. And from am I going to spend money on Square Enix products? This actually does concern me. And as somebody who would think about it, I will think again. Unreasonable request or response, a request for an apology, including face-to-face response or request for an apology specifying the position of our employees or partners. Well, I don't think it's unreasonable to request an apology. It is unreasonable to expect it or feel entitled to it. So you may not get an apology, but you could ask for it. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think it's fine to ask for it, but you may not get it. I'd say, well, you should apologize to fans. Speaking of which, and apologies, let's talk about our poll about Canada. Should the U.S. admit Canada as a 51st state? 35% of you said no, and 46% said only if they surrender the maple syrup, which I would thoroughly agree with. They need to fully surrender. And I never apologize for the scuff. You guys are exactly right about that. All right, so excessive request for provision of products exceeding socially accepted norms. What the hell does that mean? So what is a socially accepted norm of providing products? That's very vague. And then unreasonable, excessive demands for punishment of our employees. Well, what if they did something criminal? What if they should be fired? Those might be reasonable things. So these are ones, this section, undue demand, I really worry about people getting banned. Nobody can sue. Nobody's going to go to jail over this. This is not jailable stuff here. Unless it gets to the level of being stalking or harassment. But this is really not jailable, but it is something you could ban somebody for. And this makes me a little concerned that they're probably going to start banning people for that. Now, I always find it funny that the companies that are doing this, they come at a time as they bring in these policies that they're doing worse and worse and worse. And one thing that was funny to me, now this is last year, but, I don't know if you guys remember, Square Enix had massive layoffs in North America and Europe, right? Massive layoffs in North America and Europe, right? Obviously, they're behind Final Fantasy Tomb Raider, but they went hard with the reduction in the workforce. So to me, it kind of signals when you're going heavy on these types of policies, when you're leaning on these as your kind of main PR, I think that's not a good thing. I think people should not be talking about your policies. They should be talking about how awesome your games are. Or even nitpicking your games. That's fine. Sometimes I watch videos on people nitpicking a game, and it actually makes me want to play the game more. So for example, I'll watch people's complaints about a specific mechanic, and I'll like that mechanic. I'll say, oh, I like that mechanic. I like that change. So I'll actually play the game, or I'll watch gameplay of it because I don't have time to play many games nowadays. I end up watching gameplay. And I'll enjoy it because of the very mechanics that other people don't enjoy. All right. So I got one more little thing real quick here. And by the way, awesome. Very based of you chat today. Really appreciate all you guys being really cool today. I think we've had a well-behaved chat. We do have the Tencent lawsuit. Now, I'm going to be watching this, but essentially, and here's the statement I wanted to just cover very quickly. This is a statement from Tencent Holdings. And they said here, the announcement is made by Tencent Holdings on a voluntary basis. They've been notified that the Department of Defense scheduled to publish a notice of availability of designation of Chinese military companies on the 7th of January 2025, U.S. time. Pursuant to the notice, The Deputy Secretary of Defense has included the company onto a list of Chinese military companies, the CMC list. The full text of the notice can be found here. As the company is neither a Chinese military company nor a military civil fusion contractor contributor to the defense industrial base, it believes that the inclusion in the CMC list is by mistake. Unlike other lists maintained by the U.S. government, for sanctions or export control measures, inclusion in the CMC list only relates to U.S. defense procurement, which does not affect the business of the group. The CMC list is distinct from the non-SDN Chinese military industrial complex list, and inclusion in the CMC list will not prohibit any persons from business dealings with the company, including transacting with the securities of the company. The company intends to initiate a reconsideration process to correct this mistake. During the process, it will engage in discussions with the U.S. DoD to resolve any misunderstanding and take legal proceeding to remove the company from the C list. So there you go. Threatening to sue over that. So very interesting. If Tencent does decide to sue, probably we'll follow that. Obviously, for any of those who know anything about Chinese companies, obviously you have a political apparatchik that's part of a political operative, a commissar, if you will, that's appointed to pretty much every single company. That's just standard operating procedure. But the funny thing is, look, if you're going to have an issue with that policy, you do have to kind of broadly go after many companies that are operating there, including companies like Disney and other large companies that are operating within China, which I think is a worthy discussion, but it's a much broader discussion. So very interesting stuff. Something I might cover in the future, but just wanted to flag you guys on that. I like doing these multi-topic streams sometimes when I have time. And that's what I do intend on doing. Now, hopefully I get my desk in tomorrow, which will go right back here. I think I can can I duck and show you where it's going to go? Can I duck? Is that going to show you down? The desk is going to go there. Desk is going to go there. No desk right now. We're deskless. So the desk is going to go right back there when it comes in with my nice chair and everything tomorrow morning. But I will be back in Bangkok tomorrow evening. So I don't know when. I think I'm going to be in Seoul back in either later in January or actually no, early February or late February. But we're going to be here for the Johnny Somali trial in its entirety, which is going to be lovely. I've also got some videos that are translating. I do apologize; they've taken me a while to get to. There's some issues with the files, so they are processing and in the process of being translated. So those should be out soon, and I have an episode on Somali coming out very, very, very soon. Who said I wish Mindset spent an entire year? Actually, so I spent 3 entire years in Korea. I lived in Korea full time. I was in Korea during COVID. I couldn't go anywhere. In fact, all the other countries were closed. So I spent a lot of time in Korea, exclusively in Korea. There was one year I think I went to Japan once, and that was it. It was a very, very lockdown year. But this year's a big travel year, but I like it. That's how I like it to be. And I'm just excited to be back here with you guys. Thank you for being patient with me. Sorry, I've been sick, but I do. I love you guys. I appreciate you. You're the freaking best. Thank you for supporting me and being here. And I love to see 1,000 people showing up for my streams, even when they're at 1:30 a.m. Seoul time. Guys, keep it real. Stay based. And I will catch you all later. Let's leave with a little bit of what Square Enix is probably doing right now.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping